If you ask 10 people how to protect their kidneys, most of them will tell you the same two things. Drink more water, eat less salt. And yes, both of those matter. But together, they are only part of the story. Because there is another part of kidney protection that almost nobody talks about, and it happens at the exact time your body is supposed to be healing itself the most, while you sleep. What you eat in the last hour or two before bed can either support your kidneys during their overnight recovery window, or quietly make their job harder. And after 60, that matters more than most people realize. Because kidney damage is one of the silent problems of aging. A failing kidney usually does not hurt in the early stages. There are very few pain signals to warn you. No flashing light, no dramatic symptom. Often, by the time the problem finally shows up on routine lab work, a meaningful amount of kidney function has already been lost. And unlike some tissues in the body, kidneys do not simply grow back what they lose. That is why this conversation matters. I'm Dr. Jessica, and if you are over 60, tonight I want to walk you through the fruits that can actually support your kidneys in the evening hours, when your blood pressure should be falling, your body should be repairing, and your filters should be getting a chance to rest. Some of these fruits will be exactly the ones you expect. A few may surprise you. And one of them is a fruit that many people with kidney concerns have been told to avoid completely. I am going to explain why that warning exists, who it applies to, and who it may not apply to. And then at the end, I will give you one simple bedtime recipe that combines some of the safest, most useful options into one easy glass. Before we get into the first fruit, I want to speak directly to the person listening right now who feels scared, maybe even guilty, because they are thinking, what if I have already waited too long? Please hear me clearly. Even when kidneys cannot recover what has already been lost, it is still often possible to slow the decline dramatically, sometimes almost to a standstill. I have seen people in their late 60s, 70s, even beyond, stabilize their kidney numbers for years once they stopped overloading their system and started protecting the filters they still had. That is the goal. Not magic, not hype, protection. Because after 60, kidney health is not about doing one giant thing perfectly. It is about making a series of small choices that reduce pressure, lower inflammation, improve blood vessel function, and stop asking your kidneys to clean up unnecessary mess night after night. And the evening meal or the evening snack is one of those choices. Now let's make this simple. Each kidney contains about a million tiny filtering units called nephrons. And inside each nephron is a tiny cluster of blood vessels called a glomerulus. That glomerulus is one of your body's most delicate filters. It helps pull waste out of the blood while holding on to the things your body still needs. You are born with the nephrons you have. You do not make brand new ones later in life. So once you understand that, the strategy becomes clear. Protect the filters you still have. And two forces tend to damage those filters more than almost anything else over time. The first is pressure. When blood pressure stays too high for too long, it puts mechanical stress on those tiny blood vessels. Think of water pounding through a narrow hose with too much force behind it. Over the years, that pressure can scar and stiffen the filter. The second is oxidative stress. That sounds technical, but the picture is simple. It is like slow internal rusting. The same idea you see when a cut apple starts turning brown after it sits out. At a cellular level, oxidative stress damages tissue, increases inflammation, and makes it harder for the kidneys to do clean, efficient work. So when we talk about foods that help protect the kidneys, we are usually talking about foods that do one or more of these things. They reduce oxidative stress. They help blood vessels relax. They lower inflammation. They reduce the burden of waste, infection, or metabolic strain reaching the kidneys in the first place. And here is the part almost no one explains in a routine office visit. Your kidneys are not under the same demands around the clock. In a healthy body, blood pressure is supposed to dip while you sleep. Not crash, not disappear, but gently fall. That nighttime dip is one of the ways the body gives the cardiovascular system and the kidneys a chance to recover. When that healthy dip does not happen, kidney decline tends to move faster. So the goal of your evening food is not to cleanse the kidneys. I do not use that word, and I do not want you fooled by it. The goal is much more practical. You want a light evening option that helps lower oxidative stress, does not overload the body with salt or sugar, supports healthy circulation, and does not force your kidneys to work harder right when they are supposed to be winding down. That is where these fruits come in. So let's start with the one that has the strongest reputation for a reason. The first fruit is blueberries. If I had to choose just one fruit to build the foundation of this conversation around, blueberries would be very near the top. What gives blueberries that deep blue-purple color are compounds called anthocyanins. These are powerful plant antioxidants, and they matter because oxidative stress is one of the central processes that contributes to kidney wear and tear over time. Those pigments do not just make the fruit pretty. They are biologically active. They help protect blood vessels, calm inflammation, and reduce some of the cellular stress that can affect the kidneys and the cardiovascular system together. And remember, your kidneys are incredibly vascular organs. They are not just sacs that hold fluid. They are dense, delicate networks of vessels and filters. So anything that supports blood vessel health tends to matter here. Blueberries also have another quiet advantage that makes them ideal for the evening. They are relatively low in sodium naturally, and they are also on the lower side in potassium compared with many other fruits. That matters because it keeps them on the safer side for a broader group of people, including some who may already be watching their kidney numbers. They are also low in sugar for a fruit that tastes satisfying. That makes them a smart dessert replacement in the evening. Instead of ending the day with cookies, crackers, chips, or ice cream, you can end it with half a cup of blueberries on their own, or with a spoonful of plain yogurt, and give your body a completely different metabolic message before sleep. Fresh works. Frozen works too. In fact, frozen blueberries are often picked at peak ripeness, which helps preserve those pigments. Keep the portion modest. A small handful or about half a cup is enough. You do not need a giant bowl. The point is not to flood your system. The point is to support it. The second fruit is cranberries. Now, cranberries are often misunderstood. Most people think of cranberries only in one context: urinary tract infections. And yes, that connection is real. But the story is more interesting than that. Cranberries contain special plant compounds called proanthocyanidins, especially what are known as A-type proanthocyanidins. These compounds appear to make it harder for certain bacteria to attach to the lining of the urinary tract. Why does that matter for the kidneys? Because repeated infections lower in the urinary system are not always harmless annoyances. In some people, infections can travel upward, and over years, urinary tract issues can add stress to the kidneys themselves. So supporting urinary tract health is one indirect way of protecting the kidneys. Cranberries also bring antioxidant support, which means they are doing double duty. The challenge with cranberries is not the fruit itself. The challenge is how people usually consume them. Cranberry cocktail is often little more than sugar water with cranberry flavor. That is not what we want. If you send a load of liquid sugar through your body right before bed, you are working against the very things we are trying to protect. So the useful forms are different. A small amount of pure unsweetened cranberry juice diluted with water, or a small spoonful of unsweetened dried cranberries if you can find them, or even better, fresh cranberries blended into something balanced if you tolerate the tartness. You do not need much. Cranberries are powerful and sharp. A little is enough. The third fruit is red grapes. And I want to be specific here: red or purple grapes, not green ones. Because the skin is where much of the value lives. Red grapes contain resveratrol, one of the most discussed plant compounds in healthy aging research. Resveratrol has been studied for its effects on inflammation, blood vessel function, and cellular stress. And for the kidneys, that matters. Why? Because relaxed, healthier blood vessels support healthier circulation, supports the kidneys' delicate filters, and anything that may help the body settle into a more favorable nighttime blood pressure pattern is worth paying attention to. Red grapes also have another interesting advantage for the evening. They naturally contain small amounts of melatonin, the hormone associated with sleep timing. Now, are grapes a sleeping pill? Of course not. But if a fruit supports better sleep quality even a little, that matters. Because good sleep and healthy overnight blood pressure are tightly linked. A body that sleeps poorly often pays
but if a fruit
for it in
supports
blood
better
pressure,
sleep quality,
inflammation,
even a little,
insulin
that
resistance,
matters,
because
and stress
good sleep
hormones,
and healthy
and the
overnight
kidneys
blood
sit
pressure are
downstream
tightly
from all
linked.
of that.
A body
Here is
that
the
sleeps
honest
poorly
caution, though.
often pays for it in
Grapes are
blood
sweeter
pressure,
than berries,
inflammation,
so
insulin
portion
resistance,
matters.
and stress hormones. And the kidneys sit downstream from all of that. Here is the honest caution, though. Grapes are sweeter than berries. So portion matters. This is not the fruit to eat mindlessly by the
Frozen
bowl
grapes
late at
take
night.
longer to eat,
About
feel
10 to
dessert-like,
15 grapes
and
is
can help
plenty.
replace more
Eat them
damaging
whole,
nighttime habits.
skin included. The fourth
If you want to
fruit
make
is
them
the
feel like a
apple.
real treat,
And apples
freeze
help
them.
the kidneys
Frozen
in a way
grapes
many
take
people
longer
never
to
think
eat,
about.
feel dessert-like,
Through the gut,
and can help replace
An
more
apple
damaging
is rich
nighttime
in soluble
habits.
fiber,
The fourth
especially a
fruit is
type
the
called
apple.
pectin. And apples help the kidneys in a way many people never think about. Through the gut. An apple is rich in soluble fiber, especially a type called pectin. When that fiber reaches the gut, it helps feed beneficial bacteria. And when the gut
chronically
environment
irritated
improves,
gut can contribute
systemic
to a more
inflammation
inflammatory
often
internal
improves with
environment
it.
overall.
That matters
And your
because
kidneys have to
inflammation does
filter
not
the
stay
byproducts
politely
of that
confined to
environment
one
every
organ
single
system.
day.
A chronically
There is now
irritated
growing
gut
interest
can
in what
contribute to a
researchers
more
sometimes call the
inflammatory internal
gut-kidney
environment
axis.
overall.
In simple
And your
language,
kidneys have to
your
filter the
digestion and
byproducts
your
of that
kidneys are in
environment every
conversation
single
all the
day.
time.
There is now growing interest in what researchers sometimes call the gut-kidney axis. In simple language, your digestion and your kidneys are in conversation all the time. If the gut is inflamed, sluggish, overfed
skin
with
of the apple
ultra-processed
contains
food,
quercetin,
or constantly
another useful
challenged,
antioxidant
the kidneys
with
often
potential
feel the
anti-inflammatory
and blood vessel
apples
supporting
help
effects.
upstream.
So if you
And
peel
there
the
is
apple,
more.
you throw
The skin
away
of the
part of
apple
what makes it
contains
so
quercetin,
helpful. Another
Eat it
useful
whole.
antioxidant with
A
potential
medium apple in the evening is
anti-inflammatory
enough,
and blood vessel
especially if you
supporting
choose a
effects.
slightly tart
So if you
variety
peel the
like
apple,
Granny Smith,
you throw away
which
part
tends
of
to
what
be
makes
lower
it
in
so
sugar
helpful and
Eat
satisfying
it
in a
whole.
different way than sweeter
A medium
dessert-type
apple in the
fruits.
evening is enough,
Especially if you choose a slightly tart variety like Granny Smith, which tends to be lower in sugar and satisfying in a different way than sweeter dessert-type fruits. If you want to make it feel cozy, slice it and sprinkle
Now
it
we
with
are
real
halfway
cinnamon.
through the list,
That is
and
one
this
of
is
the
where the
best
conversation
swaps you
gets
can make.
even more
If your
useful.
usual habit is reaching for
Because the
something
next
crunchy,
fruits each bring
salty,
something
or
a little
sugary
more
after
specific
dinner
to the table.
Now we are
Number
halfway
5
through the
is
list,
tart cherries.
and this is where the
This may be
conversation
one
gets
of the
even
most
more
underrated
useful.
fruits for evening
Because
kidney
the
support.
next fruits each
And the
bring
reason
something a
starts
little
with
more
uric
specific
acid.
to the table.
Uric acid
Number
is a
5
waste
is tart
product that your
cherries.
kidneys have to
This
clear
may be
out.
one of the most underrated fruits for evening kidney support. And the reason starts with uric acid. Uric acid is a waste product that your kidneys have to clear out. When uric acid levels rise too high, it can contribute to gout, increase the risk of certain kidney stones. That means
And
they
may
are
be
not just
associated
generally
with
healthy.
faster kidney
They
decline
may
in
reduce
some
one
people.
very specific
Tart
burden
cherries
that your
have
kidneys
attracted
otherwise
attention
have to deal
because
with.
they appear to help lower
But
uric
tart
acid
cherries
levels.
also fit beautifully
That
into
means
the
they are
nighttime
not just
theme
generally
for a second
healthy.
reason. They may reduce one very specific burden that your kidneys otherwise have to deal with. But tart cherries also fit beautifully into the nighttime theme for a second reason. They are one of the better natural food sources
And again,
of melatonin.
that combination matters.
That makes them one of the
Better
few
sleep
fruits on this
supports a
list
healthier
that may
nighttime
support
blood
both
pressure
sleep
pattern
quality
a
and
healthier
metabolic
blood
pressure
waste handling
patterns
at
at
the
the
same
kidney
time.
recovery.
And again,
Lower uric
that
acid
combination
reduces
matters.
metabolic strain.
Better sleep supports
Suddenly
a
you have
healthier
one
nighttime
small
blood
food
pressure
choice
pattern.
doing multiple jobs.
A healthier
blood pressure pattern supports kidney recovery. Lower uric acid reduces metabolic strain. Suddenly you have one small food choice doing multiple jobs. The best forms are unsweetened tart cherry
If
juice
the label
in a
says
very
cherry
small
cocktail,
amount,
cherry
diluted,
blend,
or
cherry
unsweetened
drink,
dried tart
or is
cherries
loaded with
used
added
modestly.
sugar,
Leave it
the
alone.
sweetened products are where
The
people
real
get into
version
trouble.
is tart.
If
That
the label
tartness
says
is
cherry
often a
cocktail,
sign that you are
cherry
actually
blend,
getting the
cherry
fruit
drink,
rather than the
or is
candy
loaded
version
with
of
added
it. Sugar. Leave it alone. The real version is tart. That tartness is often a sign that you are actually getting the fruit rather than the candy version of it. Number 6 is
They
strawberries.
provide vitamin C,
Strawberries
fiber,
are one of
water,
those fruits
and a
people
range of
often
polyphenols,
underestimate because
including
they feel
ellagic
familiar.
acid
and other
but
antioxidant
nutritionally,
compounds
they are
that
impressive.
help reduce oxidative
They provide
stress
vitamin
and
C,
support blood
fiber,
vessel health,
water,
and a range of polyphenols, including ellagic acid and other antioxidant compounds that help reduce oxidative stress and support blood vessel health. Like blueberries, strawberries hit the exact theme we care about for the kidneys. If you
Less
eat a
oxidative
heavy,
burden,
greasy,
less
salty snack
inflammation,
before bed,
better vascular
your body spends
support.
hours trying to
They
manage
also have
digestion,
another major
fluid
advantage.
shifts, blood sugar
They are
swings,
light
and inflammation.
If you eat a
while
heavy,
it should be moving
greasy,
toward
salty
recovery.
snack before
Strawberries
bed,
are
your
almost
body
the
spends
opposite of
hours
that.
trying to
They are
manage
hydrating,
digestion,
fluid
fluid-rich,
rich,
low
blood
in
sugar
calories,
swings,
and generally gentle
inflammation,
on the stomach.
while it should be moving
That
toward
makes them
recovery.
excellent.
Strawberries are almost the opposite of that. They are hydrating, fiber-rich, low in calories, and generally gentle on the stomach. That makes them excellent in the evening. For most people, half a cup to 1 cup is a very reasonable portion. If kidney function is already significantly impaired, then portions and potassium need to be individualized with a doctor's input. But for many people trying to make a healthier evening swap, strawberries are an excellent choice. And just like with apples, keep it simple. Fresh strawberries with a spoonful of plain yogurt, or sliced strawberries with cinnamon, or blended with blueberries into the bedtime recipe I will give you soon. Number 7 is pineapple. Now this is one many people do not expect to see on a kidney-friendly evening list. Pineapple has a feature that makes it unique among common fruits. It contains bromelain, a natural enzyme complex that has anti-inflammatory potential. Inflammation is one of the slow background forces that can worsen kidney stress over time. It is not always loud, it does not always announce itself, but it influences blood vessels, metabolic function, tissue repair, and the general internal environment your kidneys have to work in. Pineapple also provides vitamin C and hydration. And interestingly, compared with some other fruits people assume are lighter, pineapple can be a more kidney-friendly option than expected because it is lower in potassium than several fruits that get marketed as universally healthy. That does not mean unlimited pineapple. It is still sweet. And because it tastes so refreshing, it is easy to overeat. But half a cup of fresh pineapple chunks can be a smart evening portion. Fresh is best. Frozen is fine too. Canned pineapple packed in syrup defeats the purpose. If you like something cold and sweet after dinner, a few chilled pineapple pieces can satisfy that craving, while giving you something anti-inflammatory and hydrating instead of something processed and salty. Now we come to number 8, and this is the fruit I told you we needed to discuss honestly. Citrus fruits, especially oranges and similar fruits. This is where nuance matters. Because citrus can be very helpful for some people, and not appropriate for others. Let's start with the good news. Citrus fruits contain citrate, and citrate is important because it can help reduce the formation of certain kidney stones. It does this by binding with calcium in the urine, making it less likely to form crystals that grow into stones. If you have a history of kidney stones, especially calcium-based stones, this becomes very relevant. Citrus fruits also provide vitamin C, hydration, and antioxidant compounds that support the same anti-inflammatory, vessel-protective theme we have talked about throughout this video. So why have some people with kidney concerns been told to be careful? Potassium. Oranges and some other citrus fruits can be relatively high in potassium. Healthy kidneys usually regulate potassium beautifully. In fact, potassium can be helpful for blood pressure in people with normal kidney function. But when kidney disease becomes more advanced, the body may not clear potassium effectively, and high potassium in the blood can become dangerous. So this is where I want to draw a very clear line. If your kidneys are healthy, or your doctor has told you your potassium is normal and safe, citrus may be a very reasonable part of your diet. But if you have known chronic kidney disease, especially in later stages, or you are on medications that influence potassium balance, you do not make big changes with high potassium fruits without checking first. That includes oranges. And yes, that includes some other fruits people think of as always healthy. This is not fear, this is personalization. Food is powerful, but the right food still depends on the person. So if you are cleared, a few orange segments earlier in the evening can be a refreshing choice. But I purposely do not build citrus into my default bedtime recipe, because I want that recipe to stay safer for the widest number of people. And before I give you that recipe, I want to pause here and say something that matters. These fruits are not a treatment for serious kidney disease. They are support. If you have swelling in your feet, ankles, hands, or around the eyes, if your urine becomes foamy, bloody, or noticeably reduced, if you have persistent pain in your side or back under the ribs, if you feel dramatically more fatigued, nauseated, or short of breath, those are not just eat a better fruit problems. Those are See a doctor problems. Please do not let a wellness video delay real medical care. If you are on dialysis, if you have diagnosed kidney disease, if you have heart failure, or if you are taking medications that affect fluid balance, blood pressure, or potassium, these food ideas need to be tailored to your labs and your care plan. Now let me make this real with a story. I once cared for a woman I will call Eleanor. She was 67, active, independent, and she felt fine. No dramatic symptoms, no pain, no big complaint. But her lab work showed that her kidney function was beginning to slip. Her eGFR had moved into a range that caught my attention, and her creatinine was trending the wrong way. She was stunned. She did not have diabetes. She was not a heavy drinker. She thought kidney trouble happened to someone else. And like many people, her biggest mistake was not one giant unhealthy habit. It was the quiet routine. Every evening, she would settle in with either salty crackers, leftover processed snacks, or a bowl of ice cream. Not because she was reckless. Because it was comforting, familiar, harmless seeming. But night after night, she was giving her body extra sodium, extra sugar, and extra metabolic work during the very hours when her kidneys needed less strain, not more. So we changed the evening. Not everything. Just the evening first. Some nights she had blueberries and strawberries. Some nights it was an apple with cinnamon. On other nights, a small amount of unsweetened tart cherry. We checked her potassium before discussing citrus. We focused on sleep, blood pressure, and reducing the late-night load. And she added one more simple habit. A 10-minute walk after dinner. Nothing heroic, no gym challenge, just a walk. That small movement helped with blood sugar, helped with blood pressure, improved digestion, and reinforced a different nighttime rhythm. A year later, her kidney function had not magically returned to what it was at 30. That is not how kidneys work. But it had stabilized. Her blood pressure looked better. Her habits looked better. And most importantly, the decline had slowed. For someone in their late 60s, holding the line is not failure. Sometimes holding the line is the victory. Now let me give you the simple bedtime drink I promised. I call it the bedtime kidney tonic. Not because it is a miracle, because it is practical. Into a blender, add a small handful of blueberries, about 1/4 to a 1/2 cup. Add 4 or 5 sliced strawberries. Add just a splash of pure, unsweetened cranberry juice, or pure unsweetened tart cherry juice. Not a full glass, just a splash. Then add about 1/2 cup of plain unsweetened kefir, or plain yogurt if you tolerate dairy well. This gives you probiotics that may support the gut-kidney connection we talked about earlier. If you do not tolerate dairy, you can simply use water and skip that part. Add a little water to loosen the mixture. Then finish with a small shake of real cinnamon. Blend until smooth. That is it. The reason I like this combination is because it stays relatively light, keeps the sugar low, delivers antioxidant-rich berries, adds either cranberry or tart cherry support in a small amount, and avoids loading the recipe with high potassium fruits. It is not supposed to be a giant smoothie. It is supposed to be a modest, strategic evening swap. You drink it about an hour before bed, in place of the salty snack, the sugary dessert, or the late-night processed food that used to make your kidneys work harder overnight. And there are easy variations. If you want it a little sweeter, add a few red grapes. If your stomach is sensitive before bed, skip the kefir and use water. If you do not want to blend anything at all, you can make a small bowl instead. Blueberries, sliced strawberries, and 1 spoonful of plain yogurt with cinnamon on top. The blender is not the secret. The swap is the secret. You are replacing late-night irritation with late-night support. That is the shift. And now let me make tonight as easy as possible for you. Here is what I want you to do, step by step. Tonight, close the kitchen a little earlier than usual. Make your last food choice of the day intentional. Pick one of the low-potassium, lower-sugar fruits we talked about. Blueberries, strawberries, or apple are excellent starting points for most people. Keep the portion small. Eat it about an hour before bed, not 5 minutes before lying down. If you want to go a step further, make the bedtime kidney tonic. Blueberries, strawberries, a splash of unsweetened cranberry or tart cherry, plain kefir or yogurt if tolerated, water, and cinnamon. After dinner, walk for 10 minutes if you are able. That walk may sound too simple to matter, but it helps more than people think. It supports blood pressure, circulation, digestion, blood sugar control, and sleep quality, all of which affect your kidneys. And if you have diagnosed kidney disease, or you are on blood pressure medicine, diuretics, ACE inhibitors, ARBs, or any medication that may affect potassium or fluid balance, write down one question for your doctor this week. Which fruits are safe for me based on my potassium and kidney numbers? That one question can protect you from guessing. And guessing is what gets people into trouble. Now I want to leave you with this. Your kidneys do not ask for perfection. They ask for less pressure, less inflammation, less overload, better sleep, better blood pressure, better choices repeated often enough to matter. And one of the easiest places to start is the final hour of the day. Because the food you eat before bed does not just fill your stomach. It sets the tone for the entire night. It influences blood sugar, digestion, pressure, inflammation, sleep quality, fluid balance, and the work your kidneys have to do while the rest of you is supposed to be recovering. So, if you have been thinking that protecting your kidneys means only drinking more water and avoiding the salt shaker, I want you to remember this. Those things matter. But they are not the whole story. The evening matters too. The quiet habits matter too. The fruit bowl matters too. And the biggest wins often come from the smallest changes done consistently. If this message helped you, do not just nod and move on. Use it tonight. Choose one fruit, make one swap, take one walk, ask one question. Because preserving kidney function is not about waiting for a crisis. It is about protecting what is still working while you still have the chance. And in the next video, I want to show you something almost nobody over 60 has been taught to ask about. One simple lab marker that can reveal kidney trouble much earlier than most people realize, sometimes before creatinine starts sending a clear warning. Most people never hear about it unless they ask by name. In that next video, I will tell you exactly what that number is, why it matters, and what to do if yours is starting to drift in the wrong direction. Until then, this is Dr. Jessica. Take care of your kidneys tonight, and they may keep taking care